Until the next century.
Was that a guy with a bucket on his head? Let's take another look.
Ha ha ha! Until the next century.
Yeah, that was a guy with a bucket on his head. What's that have to do with you living the life you've always wanted to live? Stay tuned and find out. This is My High School X. In 1988, I discovered that a neighbor friend of mine across the alley had a video camera. His family had a video camera. I was like, ooh, could I borrow it? And they were like, sure. So I borrowed it for like 2 years before my dad finally made me give it back to them. But it was a great 2 years. I filmed a lot of really fun stuff. Chief among them was my first finished feature-length film. Well, feature-length meaning like 30 minutes or so. My first finished film, The Moon Daemon, which is pretty awesome. So I can't play you the music, but just imagine in your head a rockin' Bon Jovi song from circa 87, 88. I'm sure it was from Slippery When Wet. So can't play that because YouTube would get upset, and so would John Bon Jovi. But you have to appreciate the graphics. This was our very first computer, and I set up the camera and just pointed the lens right at the screen, and then I tabbed and did page down and all this stuff to make these really awesome, cool 80s graphics. Let's see what's next.
You know the trip we're going on?
Of course I know the trip we're going on.
We're not going. Guess who gets to stay here?
Grandma.
No.
Aunt Sue.
No.
Uncle John.
No.
Who?
Who's left?
Us.
Yes.
Us?
Us.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. And guess what else he said? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Okay. He said we can have Jason over too. Mom's like, Jason, yeah.
Oh, right.
It's about two brothers who are left alone over the course of a weekend, and they, for some reason, it's never really clear in the film, but they find an old book, and there's a poem in it, and they read the poem, and I think they're supposed to read the poem anyway, and then this creature appears, and it appears every 100 years because it follows the Gregorian calendar for some odd reason, and kills everybody, or at least kills some people, and it hunts them down, and then it disappears. Unless, of course, you can kill the creature, the Moon Daemon, in which case everything that happened over the past 48 hours will revert back to normal and how it was before he showed up. I don't know. We don't really ever get into it in the movie, but that's the basic premise. And the thing that's important about this is, number one, I was in 8th grade. I was 14, maybe 15, 14 years old when I made this movie with my friends Chad and Don. Although whether or not they were actually friends is a whole other discussion that we'll have to get into in another episode. But anyway, we made it. We shot it. I edited. This is always hard to say. Edited it on the VHS system that my teacher, Mr. Hodson, had at my school. He was kind enough to let me do that. He was kind enough, and other teachers were kind enough to let me do it during certain class periods when not a whole lot else was going on, which that was amazing. That was so cool. There's a lot of things I want to complain about when it comes to that school, but for right now, let's say it was good, and they let me do that, so that was pretty neat. So that's the Moon Daemon. I'm not going to show you the whole thing today, at least not on this particular episode, but I just want to show you some snippets of it and see what great movie-making hijinks we were up to back in 1988. Here we go. So in 1988, we weren't exactly at the pinnacle of like computer graphics, but the camera did have a little switch that if you flipped it, it turned everything negative, just like this. And now, because it's a negative, we're like in a super crazy Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy world, as you can tell. But you got to admit, the fight scene is pretty badass. I mean, considering that I was like 14. I did other fight scenes that got better, but this one wasn't too bad. I think this was pretty awesome.
John! John!
Oh my gosh, I love this scene so much. So I wrote some notes about the Moon Daemon about 2 years prior to this. I was maybe 12 years old. It was a dark and stormy night. Nobody was home. Crazy stuff was happening on the house, and I started taking notes. I might even still have them in my filing cabinet somewhere. And one of the scenes that I imagined was John, the little brother, running outside in the rain in this big storm, thinking the Moon Daemon was chasing him, and then he's getting ready to kill the Moon Daemon, only it turns out it's his brother, and it's this whole thing. And I can't express to you, if you've never had this happen to you, the thrill, you guys, the unmitigated joy that comes from having written a scene or imagined a moment in your head and then seeing it come to life. I've gotten to do that a lot as a stage director, but only very few times as a filmmaker. Getting to see something that you envisioned come to life on screen or on stage, it is so cool. It's one of the best things ever. So I've got a lot of stuff on a lot of videotapes, but that moment in the Moon Daemon is one of my most proud because it's like, yeah, I imagined it and I made it real. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second.
Wait, I've always wanted to do this. The cup is still standing.
What does this have to do with living the life you've always wanted to live? It's really simple, folks. If there's something you want to do, go do it. If you're familiar with my work at all, on video in particular, you know I've been saying that for many, many years, and it's for reasons like this. It's experiences like the Moon Daemon that make me say this. This is just something that I just wanted to do, so I did it, and I didn't let anything get in my way. If there was a problem, I either ignored it, found a way around it, find a way through it, under it, whatever, but I did it. I wanted to make a movie, and god damn it, I did. That hasn't changed for me. My entire life has been that way. Not to say that I haven't given up on some stuff, not to say that I don't regret not taking on some opportunities that came along, because I had some opportunities and I passed them up and I wish I hadn't, yada yada. But the underlying thing here that I want you to walk away with is hopefully, one, you're entertained by this ridiculous film, and number two, that I don't care how old you are, whether you're 14 or 84, if you're like, god damn it, I want to make a movie, I want to be in a band, I want to write a book, I want to play a great game of golf, whatever the hell it is that that really makes you pleased and proud, then go do it. Find a way and go do it, all right? I will try not to beat this too much into the ground, but that's just kind of my guiding way of life. My wife likes to say that I'm ambitious, and I am, but not ambitious in the, oh, I want to make $1 billion and be the next Amazon or Google or whatever, like, not that kind of ambitious. I'm ambitious to the point that if there's something I want to do, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to find a way to do it, and that's what I want to pass on to you. Whatever it is you want to do, find the time, create the time, get a team together, and go do it. All right? Cool. So I'm going to wrap it up here for this episode of My High School X. I hope you had a great time watching these little snippets of the Moon Daemon. Again, I think I'm going to do a second episode here in the near future, so best way to know about that is to hit that subscribe button and then hit the little bell so that you get notified when the new videos are posted. If you enjoyed the video, please share it, please comment. I will respond to every comment that I get, and I just want to hear you guys' thoughts, or if there's anything in particular you would like to see from me, from the show, or whatever. More of this, less of that, whatever. Just let me know, because we'll improve. I also run a show on this channel called fictionmentor.com, and that's for all of you writers and aspiring writers. Please check into that. I think I've got some very helpful stuff, all for free, of course. And if you would like to support me or support the channel, best thing you could possibly do is hit the link down in the description and buy one of my books. If you've already bought the book, great. Please go leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads and BookBub. That would be outstanding. I would really, really appreciate it. So we will see you again for another episode of My High School X. See ya.